So let's start with NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine.
Well, thank you so much, Bettina. And I just want to say the launch readiness review is complete, and we are indeed go for launch. I want to thank our ULA teammates and, of course, our JPL teammates as well. This has been an amazing team effort. And I remember when I first came to the agency, Thomas Zurbuchen came to me and said, hey, look, we have a risk here. The risk is Mars 2020. I said, well, what's the risk? He said, well, we might not go in 2020. And here we are, just a number of years later, but we are, in fact, going to launch what we now call Mars Perseverance in the year 2020. And I think the name is perfectly appropriate. A young man in Virginia named Alex Mather, a seventh grader, is the person who named it. And so we are in extraordinary times right now with the coronavirus pandemic, and yet we have, in fact, persevered. And we have protected this mission because it is so important. We declared this mission to be essential. And there's a number of reasons why. And I'll just give you a few of them, some of the reasons that excite me the most. First of all, the President gave us an objective to go to Mars with humans, to plant an American flag on Mars. Well, in order to do that, we have to be able to sustain human life on Mars. So there's a mission on Perseverance called MOXIE. It's a technology demonstrator. How do we use the carbon dioxide atmosphere of Mars and create pure oxygen that we can use for life support? So that's a really exciting mission that is a precursor to an eventual human mission to Mars. But there's so much more. When we think about the Mars Perseverance rover, for the first time ever, we're going to fly a helicopter on another planet. We call it Ingenuity. And of course, Ingenuity is going to be a tech demonstrator for this particular mission, but in the future it could transform how we do planetary science on these other worlds, and eventually be a scout so that we can figure out where exactly do we need to send our robots. But I think the other thing that's very important about this mission, this is the first time in history when NASA has dedicated a mission to what we call astrobiology, the search for life, either maybe now, or ancient life on another world. And of course, when we go to the Jezero crater, which is obviously a big crater on Mars, but it's also a former lake bed, and it had a river that flowed into it, and that river delta is a place where we believe there could be, I'm not saying there is, we don't know, but there could have been at one point in time life. We know that Mars had a very active atmosphere and a very active hydrosphere, that it was protected from the radiation of deep space at one time 3 billion years ago. In other words, Mars was at one time habitable. We know that because of past missions, Spirit and Opportunity. And now that we know what the history of Mars was, we can say, okay, maybe there was life there. Let's go find out if there was life on Mars. And in fact, the other exciting thing is we're going to cache samples. We're going to cache samples on the surface of another world for a future mission in 2026 to bring those samples back to Earth. And that will be the first time in history that we've done a Mars return mission. In fact, it's the first time in history we've done a return mission from any planet. So these are very, very exciting times. Very important mission for the United States of America, and of course a very, very important mission for the world. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the Associate Administrator of the Science Mission Directorate at NASA, who has done just amazing work helping us get to where we are today, and somebody who understands how uniting this mission actually is. So Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen, over to you.
Thank you so much, Administrator, and thanks to you for your commitment to success, without which we wouldn't be here today. So I really, really appreciate that. And I just couldn't be more happy to be here today and have this amazing mission on top of a rocket ready to go. And actually from this launch readiness review know that all the issues are addressed, and we are in fact ready now. We're just counting down and just really celebrating with the team. You already mentioned, Administrator, why we want to go to Mars, and I'm not going to repeat it. For me, the most exciting part is to really go land in this river delta that we think has so many promising landscapes, kind of rocks, that in fact we want to not only see images of and measurements of, we want to see back in the best labs that are available to humanity, which is of course on Earth. with Mars sample return being a reality. We're excited to go learn about the climate of Mars, the weather there with unprecedented weather information that is right there also, and teaches us about that. And needless to say, we're going to make amazing, surprising discoveries, kind of in a way that it always happens. The most important thing that happens in these missions are the things we did not plan. Those are discoveries that are rewriting school books all over the world. Well, there are two things that really are important to me today I want to focus on. The first one is perseverance. You already mentioned how appropriate this name is. Perseverance, many people think initially is about something hard. It is something beautiful. It's together with exploration, together with hope, together with vision. It is what actually allows us to achieve these amazing goals. And this mission is full of perseverance. It's perseverance early on even of bringing this amazing idea to bear and designing this exciting rover together with international partners that persevered themselves developing these instruments and sending them over. It is going through the adversity that we always encounter when it comes to complex exploration, but also in this case over and above because of the tremendous difficulties in the sample return technology that was invented at JPL and their collaborators. But then you talked about it, life changed. And on this rover we have the Unity plaque recognizing the first responders that also had an important role and actually kept everybody safe, not only the good people who worked at this rover and the launch vehicle, but also their friends and family all over the United States and in fact all over the world. In addition to that, on this rover is a plaque with 11 million names. And I want to tell you, my name is there, as are my entire family. And both of my parents, who are no longer with us, they too are part of that important exploration. And I hope so many of the people are watching right now, because we're going together as a world. And I want to give you a glimpse of going together as a world from a little country over there in Europe. And I want to show the first image. This is in the background there, the Matterhorn. You've seen it from chocolate bars, perhaps. You know it's one of the most amazing mountains, almost 15,000 feet high. And what you see in the forefront is a light show, actually, really onto the Matterhorn with Mars images. You see, of course, looking at these rocks as, well, this could be on another planet too. Well, this is in Switzerland. It's actually at 9,000 feet high. That's where the crew is right now. But here's what's exciting right now. Every night until the 15th of August, and next image, please. The crew is going to project images such as this one onto the Matterhorn, images of coming together as a world and persevering and exploring our neighboring planet together, but being explorers together and persevering. And so for me, that image is just really one of those demonstrations. No, this is not fake. That's exactly what happened last night. That's exactly what happened next night in Switzerland and for the next few nights. So I just really want to thank Jerry Hofstetter, the artist and event designer who did that, and of course Daniel Lucken, who is the official in charge who enabled that. There's a lot of people who had to agree to that moment of coming together. Ich kann nur mal sagen, wie froh dass ich bin, dass das dort ist. Und danke vielmals, Zermatt, für alles zusammen. Yes, that was Swiss German, and I do speak that language. With that, however, I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate Matt and his work and the work of his entire team. Matt and I got to know each other a lot because we too had to persevere together. Matt?
Thank you, Thomas. I'm not going to speak German, but I'm pretty excited. This is the 5th Mars rover mission I've had an opportunity to work on, and I have to say this one's really special for a lot of reasons, some of which you've already heard about. That we're doing transformative science. Really, for the first time, we're looking for signs of life on another planet. And as Thomas mentioned, for the first time, we're going to collect samples that'll be part of, we hope, the first sample return from another planet. And there's a lot of other firsts along the way. Administrator mentioned our first powered aerial capability with the Ingenuity helicopter. We're making oxygen on the surface of Mars for the first time. For the first time, we have an opportunity to use autonomous systems to avoid hazards on as we land in Jezero Crater, and that's a technology that'll feed forward into future robotic systems and human exploration systems, and that's exciting. We're also carrying microphones for the first time. We're going to hear the sounds of the spacecraft landing on another planet and the rover drilling in the rocks and rolling over the surface of Mars. And you know, that's pretty exciting. And I'll mention one more, which is kind of near and dear to my heart. For the first time, we're going to have an opportunity to see another spacecraft, see our spacecraft land on another planet. We've got commercial ruggedized cameras that we've distributed essentially all over the spacecraft, and they'll get high-definition video that we'll bring back after we land on the surface of the entire landing activity, from the inflation of the parachute to the touchdown of the rover, and that's going to be some very exciting footage. So, so the whole mission is very exciting for me. If we bring up the first graphic, just from a quick historical perspective, we really began to look for ways to leverage the powerful sky crane delivery system that we developed. If you bring up the next graphic, I think we got a picture here of the spacecraft. I like it because it gives you a sense of the complexity of this system. You see the crew stage up on top. The rover is a little hard to see, but you can see one of the wheels there, and the helicopter is actually mounted underneath the body of the rover, and they're both nestled up into the upper portion of the entry capsule. And we're about to bring the heat shield up to encapsulate the entire spacecraft. This is right before going into our integrated flow with the launch vehicle just a few weeks ago. You know, you can't build something this complex without a lot of help from our industry partners, and they stepped up big time. We built flight hardware in 44 out of the 50 states in the country, more than 550 different cities and towns and communities. So no matter where you are in this country, you don't have to go very far probably to find somebody that's been part of this mission, and it's a tremendous team effort. You know, it's we work with cutting-edge technology, and when we do that, we expect to be challenged. And as Thomas and the administrator have mentioned, our fundamental job is to explore new places we haven't been, answer questions we don't know the answers to, sometimes create questions that we didn't even know we needed to ask. And so you expect new issues and new problems, I have to say, along the way. But really nothing prepared us for what we had to deal with in the middle of March as a pandemic struck. And not just our team, but obviously communities across the country and the world. We really, at that point of the mission, we were in our final assembly activities. It's critically important that the team do that assembly correctly, that they do it without making mistakes or damaging the hardware. There's really no safety net at that point. We're working with a very limited schedule. Every day, every shift, every hour is something we're scrutinized to make sure we're going to stay on track, because we got a 20-day planetary launch window, and if we miss it, we're going to push out by a couple years. And so you know, just having the coronavirus issue at that point in time was very challenging for us. And of course, no matter how many hardships we were facing, there's a community out there, first responders, nurses, doctors, and medical community that were really facing life and death situations at the same time. And so I asked the team a couple months ago to do something to kind of represent this particular challenge that we all faced here in 2020 on this mission. And I think if you bring up the next graphic, You can see a technician on our assembly team installing a plate. This is on the, a little hard to tell, but it's on the aft port side, left side of the rover. And we call the plate the Perseverance COVID-19 plate. And there's a good shot of it. You can see we have representation of the Earth on the top, kind of to symbolize the challenge that we faced, globally as the pandemic struck. We have a representation of the spacecraft leaving the Earth and heading to Mars, and of course, all of this is appropriately supported by the rod and serpent of the medical community. During this period, this is a group of people that really inspired, I think, our team to keep going, and we hope that in some small way this mission can help inspire the people that have had to go through this pandemic as well. So if we go to the next graphic, please. I mentioned the team. You saw some pictures. Our team actually doesn't end with international contributions and industry partners and other NASA centers. We include all of you as well. And this plate, if you look at the top left corner of this plate, you'll see 3 small microfiche chips, which Thomas referred to. These are the places where his family's names and 11 million other names are etched onto those microfiche chips. We had only intended to fly one, but we got so much interest we couldn't fit it on one, so we flew 3. And you see on the plate as well representation of the solar system with Earth and Mars, and there is some hidden Morse code, I think, in the rays of the sun, which people quickly recognized spelled out "explore as one," which is what we intend to do. We're going to launch the vehicle here in just a couple days, and we're looking forward to having everybody come along for the ride. If you go to nasa.gov, be my guest, you'll find plenty of experiences there to see the launch and to see some of the behind the scenes interviews. Also at mars.nasa.gov/Mars 2020. There's if you click on the participate, there's opportunities to get to some pretty cool social media filters. There's a photo booth there where you can take a picture with the Mars Perseverance rover, some competitions and some other things. So we invite all of you to ride shotgun along with us starting on Thursday. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our launch director, Omar Baez.
Thank you, Matt. And as everybody else here has mentioned, our situation did change. I would have never thought that a launch director would be working from home. And I've done that for the last 5 months. And we used to have something called every other year here called Take Your Kids to Work. Well, guess what? Every day was Take Your Kids to Work day. And I bet you it's been an experience for the kids, but it's humbling as a parent to see how our whole team, from the range to our partners at JPL to our partners ULA to our folks at headquarters, how we all had to adjust to work in this environment and to collaborate electronically, where before it was a face-to-face interaction versus seeing somebody's little picture on a computer screen and voice. And even as simple as a launch readiness review, which we had this morning, where it would have been shoulder to shoulder, that room would have been full and people standing up in the back, sparse settings, everybody wearing a mask. You had trouble hearing some people because you're wearing these masks. So there's a challenge and a penalty that goes with doing these things. And I've seen the team react and overcome all of that, and it makes me very proud. And here we are. a couple of days from launch. We did complete the launch readiness review. If I could have the folks roll a short video here, I'll show you how we're going to get Perseverance to the red planet. And it starts with that right there. That's the Atlas V with its RD-180 motors being stacked into the MLP at the VIF at Complex 41. That's the SRMs going up. We're flying 4 of them on this mission, and that gives the Atlas that extra oomph it needs to leave the Earth's gravity well with Perseverance and Ingenuity. And there you see about the last time we got to see the rover and helicopter stack before it got encapsulated. And we took that out to Complex 41 on the 7th and stacked it on top of the vehicle, got it ready. Environmentally, for planetary protection purposes, we had to prepare that area to be able to ingress and egress, and on the 24th of this month we inserted the RTG, which is going to power the rover on Mars for the next couple of years. And we finished out all our testing, and all that remains is I have 3 goes to go. Tomorrow at 8 in the morning, I give the go for the vehicle to roll out. We take a day of rest after tomorrow to get synced up with having to come in at 2 or 3 in the morning. Give a go to fuel the vehicle. And once we're ready and the spacecraft's configured, 1 more go. And 4 minutes later, we're going to be flying to Mars. And that makes my job really simple. And over to Tori to explain the rest of it.
All right. Thank you, Omar. I cannot tell you how thrilled we are to lift Perseverance. ULA and its Heritage rockets have taken every U.S. mission to Mars, but this one is arguably the most sophisticated and in some ways the most exciting of all of them. So it will sit atop our mighty Atlas in the 541 configuration. I like to call that one the Dominator because that is our second most powerful Atlas. So supplementing that core with its 860,000 pounds of thrust from the RD-180 will be 4 massive solid rocket motors that you saw in Omar's video, each of them generating another 280,000 pounds of thrust. This rocket is going to leap off the pad with this relatively tiny payload, so do not blink when they say ignition.